long journey to get where you're sat today. Could you start by telling us about your upbringing and what it was like growing up in Birmingham?
Yeah, difficult place, full of, aspiring, I guess, footballers, like musicians and stuff like that. Everyone, as a young kid, has hopes and dreams of doing something. But I guess for myself, wasn't the most toughest, but wasn't the easiest at the same time. But I'm fortunate, to have a sort of strong mother and sort of family and friends, and my friends' mums who are also strong women as well, that really raised us and taught us from sort of right from wrong, and just keeping us sort of on the right path. In my family there's a lot of strong positive women that whether it's their sons, their daughters, their cousins, my aunties and sort of uncles and nan and my mum, they all pushed me to be happy, be positive, and that sort of transpired into my football at times, especially growing up. My mum was, worked a couple of jobs, used to take me to training. I remember her working Saturday nights and, falling asleep on the sofa, and I'd have to wake her up Sunday mornings at like 9 AM, for her to take me to a game on a Sunday. So, she did a lot to sort of put me in the position where I can sort of live out my dream, and she sacrificed a lot and worked a lot to support myself and my younger brother at the time. So, she was a massive part of my life, and one of the reasons why, I'm constantly determined to always make my family proud as well as myself.
How nice is it now that you get to repay all that hard work and effort with not only what you're doing, but I believe you bought your mum a house when you were at Birmingham?
Yeah. So when I was at Birmingham, I was in a very fortunate position where I was with the first team whilst I was still in school, training with them every single day, getting kicked about and also learning from a lot of the older players. And there was times I came home from training sort of crying because there was Stephen Carr, Barry Ferguson, Lee Bowyer, Roger Johnson, like all these sort of tough sort of English and UK based players where they just kicked lumps out of me every day in training. And there was times, and I hadn't even left school then, so there was times where I didn't even want to sort of go back, but sort of the support from my mum and a few of the other players in that group as well, they sort of enabled me to get through that. And once I started to sort of toughen up and realise that it's sort of I'm a boy stepping into a man's game. Once I started playing and sort of adapting to all of that, the players that were kicking lumps out of me were the players that were protecting me on the field as well. So it was all sort of part of a learning process that enabled me to sort of grow up faster and realise that I can't really take the position I'm in for granted, especially being at such a young age, because there was a lot of players my age that were thought they probably made it, and you never ever can be too comfortable, especially how football is going even now at my age at 24, because a bad season, a bad injury, it can be gone like that. So you really need to channel your energy and realise that this is one of the best jobs in the world, but at the same time, if you're living out a dream, it's even better.
One of the things that people might not know about you is that when you were trying to make it in 2012, I believe it was, you lost your sister Tilly.
Yeah.
That must have been obviously a really emotional experience for you at that time, still as a young lad, and really challenging for your family. I
think just seeing, growing up from such a young age, 5, 6, 7, raised by a single mum, seeing how strong she was and how much sort of mental toughness and positivity she always fed into me at a young age, to see something like that break my mum down was something that it really touched myself and my family too. I think one of the hardest parts for me was obviously knowing that this is a big part of something that could potentially change my mum's life, but at the same time change my family's life as well. So that's one of the main reasons why whenever there's toughness that's always coming around within this game, I always relate back to some of the situations that happen with my family, because at the same time I can, football is just a game, but if I can use this game to make my family proud, myself proud, and my siblings as well, then that makes it all worth it for me. Just to know that, sort of the energy and the vibe from everything that went on, at the end of the day I realised my mum, she's still going strong, and she's as happy as ever now, and I think for her to be able to see me on the pitch every week, you know, I think that makes her proud, and even prouder when I'm making accolades and performing to the best of my ability, because I feel like in that situation that happened with my sister passing away, it was more of a sense of no matter what I do, it's still a reflection of her. So she's seeing something that she has raised, she has birthed, living out a dream which she also put so much into. So there was never any pressure coming from her. It was always, whatever you do, you will still make me proud as you are a child of mine. So, you know, I always try to remember that whenever I'm going through a sort of a tough period or even a great period at the same time.
And your brother and sister are growing up as well now, so it must be interesting for them to sort of interact with you as a Premier League footballer.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I think, you know, my brother's 16 and he's sort of playing football as well, and my sister's 6-7 years old, so she's, you know, she doesn't see me as, oh, it's Nathan Redmond on her game days. You know, she loves coming to the football, so does my brother, but you know, at the end of the day, when I go home, I'm just their older brother. I'm Nathan. I probably think that they look up to me, and if I'm someone they can look up to, then that's perfect. But you know, I think one of the key points is, especially after games, that you can sort of switch off and not think about things too much. And again, because I have such a strong family around me, that enables me to do that.
And off the pitch as well, I know you're quite positive in everything you do. You've done a lot of work with Sands charity after what happened with your sister, and also Help Harry, Help Others. Could you tell us a bit about that? Yeah,
the Sands stuff was sort of charity we thought about after my sister passing away, which was, you know, I realised sort of how tough it was for my mum, and I realised that, you know, stuff like this is happening every single day, whether, you know, people are losing a child as a stillborn, or whether they go on to become 1, 2, 3, 4 and they lose them quite early, or if a child is born and has difficulties and passes away. It's something that I realised firsthand is very, very tough for especially a woman and a family to deal with. So it was sort of sorting and organising ways that I can help, and my mum can help as well, to actually help the charity to help families out that may not have the financial support to organise, you know, funerals or birth certificates and sort of memoirs in terms of footprints, handprints and stuff like that possibly, you know, they maybe struggle to get. So it was that one of those things is something that I felt was really important, because when my sister passed away, we had something like that, and we wanted something like that in place as sort of a memory. So again, I realised how hard it is for families that have gone through it, so that was something that I felt like was important. And in terms of Help Harry, Help Others, you know, it's a sort of another close family charity that, you know, I will never ever turn down my support and my love for, because I grew up with Harry's older sister Danny, and Georgie, Harry's mum, is an unbelievable, again, another strong, positive woman that, after losing a child and seeing the way Harry went about his life leading up to his death was something that was inspiring, and it inspired a lot of kids. It inspired a city in terms of Birmingham, and it inspired a lot of people in and around the UK. So you know, I will never turn down work in terms of charity, or you know, if I can help someone else who's in a less fortunate position, or I feel like I can put my all in into it. But you know, as long as it's a positive sort of message and a positive outcome, not necessarily for everyone in terms of myself, but it's a positive outcome and I can help change somebody's life, then, you know, I realise I'm in a fortunate position to do that. So in my head, I think, why not?
Is that something, everything that you've been through and the help you try and provide for others, does that help you sort of power through the more difficult moments as a footballer when you're maybe getting criticised or anything like that?
You know, listen, I take all the criticism in the world. There's no other bigger critic of myself than myself. But at the same time, I do realise that all of the things I've been through, they're more difficult than what I go through in terms of a bad side on the pitch. So, you know, the sort of hardships and seeing people around me that have grown up and they have positive people around them that want them to do better, no matter if you make mistakes or you know, if something bad's happened to you or something in the family, you know, that's a lot worse than what goes on in terms of a football pitch. And sometimes, you know, as players, we forget that. So, you know, players are just as human as your next door neighbour.
And in terms of yourself, you're only 24. Do you feel that people find that easy to forget because you've had such a rapid rise? You've played so much football in the time since your first emergence against Rochdale for Birmingham.
Yeah, I played a lot of football. I still remember to this day, it feels like yesterday, playing for Birmingham, and you know, I hadn't even taken my GCSEs yet, and I was on the bench 3 or 4 times, and you know, it just seemed like surreal. And to go from that to where I am now, I do look back sometimes and think, you know, it's been a lot of hard work, but I know the hard work isn't sort of done. I realise that there's a lot of potential that I have within myself that isn't being fulfilled, and I'm really determined to make sure that it's fulfilled here at Southampton. So, you know, I've been at Birmingham, at Norwich, and been at places where I can really sort of harness my craft and get better, playing the number of games in the Championship, playing a few seasons in the Premier League, and to have 2 strong seasons here at Southampton in the Premier League. You know, one in my first season, probably a good season. In the second season, you know, one probably to forget by my own standards. But this one, you know, I've sort of came back, had a lot of time to think and a lot of time to work over the summer, speaking with friends and family, you know, and it's really sort of time to get my mind right and be ready for this season, as I feel like it's a critical season for myself, but also for the club as well.